بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وآله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So inshallah today we're going to start this quite wonderful text by Imam Izzuddin Abdul Salam. He's one of the most famous scholars of the past, and his title is Sultan al-Ulama. So he's known as the Sultan of the scholars. So it's not just an ordinary person that we're taking this from, it's actually someone who was extremely knowledgeable. He was also around the time Imam Shadli, and interestingly enough, he was initially he didn't know what to think about Tasawwuf originally, and then after meeting Imam Shadli and Imam Shadli's immediate Khalifa Abu Bakr al-Mursi, he changed completely. It's not an average person we're taking this from. We're actually taking it from quite a lofty scholar, and the praises of him were quite a lot. So he was probably around the 12th century, and he's written a lot of books, and one of the ones that we've hopefully we might get a chance to look at some point is the 17 Benefits of Tribulation as well, inshallah. And so this is really our sort of mawlid, if you like. We're going to look through the important points of about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in your book you've got the biography on page 17. You've got the biography of Izzuddin Abdul Salam all there. He really was quite a giant in scholarship, and a lot of his books are relied upon in the Shafi Sunni school of fiqh and other sciences. So let's just crack on straight with the text. So the text will start on page 21. So have you all got that page 21? So the way I'll do it is I'll read the Arabic and then we'll go through the English. So don't be worried, I'm not going to teach the whole class in Arabic, and I've just bought these books to make me look smarter than I am. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I've got two copies of the text because sometimes you get different variations of the same text. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Rabbi Yasir wa'ayni ya Kareem. قال إمام الشيخ الإسلام مفتي الأنام صدر العراق والشام عز الدين محمد عبد العزيز ابن عبد السلام السلمي الشافعي رضي الله عنه قال الله تعالى لنبينا صلى الله عليه وسلم متعنا عليه معرفة لقدر لديه وأنزل الله عليك الكتاب والحكمة وعلمك ما لم تكن تعلم وكان فضل الله عليك عظيم وقد فضل الله بعد الرسل على بعض ومنهم كلم الله ورفع بعضهم درجات. So the first part is that the Sheikh, the Imam, Sheikh Islam, Mufti of the Anam means it's like people, but it can also mean jinn as well. And he said the chief Sadr of Iraq was Sham, so he was the chief of Iraq and Sham, so it's quite a large area, so that gives you indication to how respected he was in those times. Izzuddin Muhammad ibn Abdul Salam al-Sulami al-Shafi. And then he said that Allah Ta'ala said about our Prophet, explaining his rank, that Allah sent down the book, i.e. the Quran, and wisdom, and taught him what he did not previously know, and the bounty of Allah upon him is great. So this is about halfway down from your text you've got there, because there is a section here that says that the first one, if you're on page 21, he talks about I requested my father. So it's a son saying that he got a request from his made a request of his father to dictate something about the Prophet. That I couldn't find that actually in the Arabic text. That I checked 3 copies of the Arabic text. I couldn't find anything to that word to that effect. I did contact the publisher, and they said it was within a particular copy that they had, but I've not been able to find that sort of those couple of lines. So our text sort of starts at the bottom of page 21, which is Allah Exalted said to his Prophet, and then it continues on to the next part of the page, which Allah sent down the book and wisdom upon you and taught you that which you don't know, and Allah's favour upon you is indeed immense. And then he says that Allah has favoured some messages over others, and we have favoured some of these messages over others. So on page 22, on the second part of the second part right here. So Allah as exalted has favoured some of the messages over others, and we have favoured some of these messages over others. Allah spoke directly to some of them and raised up some of them in rank. So this is just giving an indication that what's going to come now. So he's saying that Allah saying that we gave you a great blessing. كان فضل الله عليك عظيم. So Allah's favour upon you is indeed immense. So this is just giving you an indication that what's going to come. And then the next ayah is also an indication as well. So we've favoured some of these messages over others. So Allah's saying that look, we've given some messages virtue over others. So not all the messages are the same. And then he says the first favour that Allah is speaking to some clearly speaks about the very basis of favour, and the second is that of raising someone rank lies in the multiplication of favour by rank. The word rank in the verse is left indefinite to indicate greatness, because in Arabic if you put like the or al in front of something, you indicate you're specifying something. But if you don't specify, if there's no al there, then you're saying that it's more than one, or you're indicating it's a lot. Not necessarily something's plural, you're indicating it's a lot. So the first thing that Allah the Exalted has favoured our Prophet in various ways, that he is the master of all mankind. So the Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I am the master of the children of Adam, and this is no boast. So the first one, Kana Sayyid al-Qul, Qala sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ana Sayyida waldi Adam wala faqr. So I am the master of the children of Adam without boast. وسيد من اتصاف بصفات العالية وخلق السنية وهذا مشعر بأن أفضل منهم في دارين. And so he's saying that he's a master in terms of the attributes that he has, the lofty attributes and the lofty characteristics, and this is also indication that he was the best of them in the two abodes, meaning the abode of the world and the abode of the afterlife. As for in this world, it is because he is characterized by tremendous qualities of character, and as for the next world, it is because repayment is arranged according to one's qualities and character, and since he is better than them in this world in virtues and attributes, he is better than them in the next world by his ranks and degrees. So أما في الدنيا فلما اتصف به من الأخلاق المذكورة، وما في الآخرة فلأن جزاء الآخرة مرتب على أوصاف والخلق، فإذا فضلهم في الدنيا في المناقب والصفات وفضلهم في الآخرة في المراتب والدرجات. وإنما قال أنا سيد ولد آدم ولا فخر ليتعرف أمته ونازلته من ربه عز وجل. So he said, I am the master of the children of Adam, and this is no boast, to inform his community, i.e. us, about his position in respect to his Lord, mighty and exalted is he. As he's mentioned virtue, as mentioning one's virtues is usually done out of pride. So if I say, like, I've got my nice Moroccan jubbeh and you haven't got any Moroccan jubbeh, right? So it's arrogant, isn't it? But this is not for the Prophet. The Prophet is telling us that he's telling us something we need to know, really. So when the Prophet tells us these things, he's telling us what we need to know. What we need to know is that he is he's got the highest rank among the prophets.
Prophet's speech is not from caprice.
Yes, ما ينطق عن الهوى إلا وحي يوحى. So he doesn't, the Prophet, so it's in the Quran, so he said the Prophet does not speak from his own passion, it's only revelation that he conveys. But that is also an indication, because all these things that were coming up, these weren't for other prophets. So you don't find the things that Allah's blessed the Prophet with, or described the Prophet with, they have not been described or given the same attributes as other prophets. So a lot of these are very specific to the Prophet. And then the second one, which is, we're on page 23, if I haven't lost you already. So one of the favours granted him is found in the words of the Prophet, the banner of praise will be in my hand on the day of the rising, and this is no boast. ومنهم قاله وبيده لواء الحمد يوم القيامة ولا فخر. Do you want me to mention where the hadith come from?
Can you just explain what Bidyah Al Sul, well, the banner of praise means?
Okay, so there's this will be on the Day of Judgment, so there's banner of praise, and the banner of praise, all the prophets will be under it, and all the Ummah of the Prophet, inshallah, so kudos, inshallah. So we'll be all under that banner. So this will be like a banner of praise that will be in the Prophet's hand, and then basically the prophets will be with the Prophet, and hopefully us will be behind them as well. So this will be on the Day of Judgment. So that is one thing as well, because that also indicates that the other prophets are behind. Also, there's two types of communities. One that's the community that's answered the call, the one who is the community that we're going to call. So the community that's answered the call is the Muslims, and then the community that's not answered the call is the non-Muslims. But they're all part of the Prophet's community. And as we go on, the more this is going to come out, and it's so number 3. ومنها قال آدم فمن دونه تحت لواه يوم القيامة ولا فخر. هذه خصائص تدل على علو مرتبته على الآدم وغيره، إذا لا معنى للتفضيل إلا لتخصيص بالمناقب والمراتب. So one of the favours is found in the words of the Prophet ﷺ. So all the prophets, Adam and those after him, will be beneath my banner on the day of rising, and this is no boast. So this is what we were just saying before. So that hadith in Tirmidhi, but it's all in the footnotes really. I mean, if you want me to mention anything else, I will. So that gives you an indication, because they wouldn't put someone at that stage who wasn't in charge. And the Prophet's not boasting, he's just telling us what we need to know, because we need to know this in the Day of Judgment, because we're going to be very scared at that time, because sweating and terrified. And the day that makes the children's hair white, in the Quran, and the day where the children's hair will turn white, because they'll be so scared. And the day the prophets will be scared as well. So if they're scared, and then he says these special qualities indicate his high rank above Adam alayhi salam and others, since the only meaning of being shown preference is by being singled out for virtues and ranks. I mean, if you've got questions, you can ask them. Don't be scared. And if you don't want to ask them, you can write them down and pass them to the front. Or you can give them to Habib and he can pass them. Okay, so number 4, I haven't lost the order yet. ومنها أن الله أخبره أن غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه وما تأخر ولم ينقل أنه أخبر أحد من الأنبياء بمثل ذلك، بل ظاهر أنه لم يخبرهم إلا لأن كل واحد منهم إذا طلبت منه شفاعة في مواقف ذكر خطاياه التي أصابها وقال نفسي نفسي. Okay. So one of them is that Allah the Exalted had told him that he was forgiven for his past and future wrong actions. So we don't believe the prophets make any sins. So that's an important point of the Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Not major sins or minor sins. So we believe that the prophets are not sinful at all. And that's this is unlike the Christians who've got some awful things in their books about the prophets. Like the prophets commit sins, desired women, got drunk and whatever. It's all in the Bible. So we say all that's fabricated basically. We don't believe any of that. But basically what was happening, the situation was that the Prophet was praying all night and he prayed till his feet were, his blessed feet were swollen. And then Aisha said, why, Allah's forgiven you, and she quoted this verse, so لا يغفر لك الله ما تقدم من ذنبك وما تأخر. So Allah has it's quite emphasized. It says grammatically it's quite strongly emphasized, because there's a lam there at the beginning which لا يغفر, so it's very strongly emphasized. Laka Allah, and then he used laka. And laka means to you. So he used the lam again, so it's very strongly emphasized. Ma taqaddama min dhanbika. So what has previously occurred. Wa ma ta'akhir. So in fact, ayah number 2. And so she quoted this. Actually quoted this verse, and she said, that Allah's forgiven your sins. You're putting yourself to quite a lot of pains. And then he said, "Afala akuna abdan shakura," and should I not be a grateful servant? And then the author goes, it's not transmitted that Allah told any of the prophets anything like that. So we're on top of page 24. So he's saying that the author's saying that none of the prophets were told this, and it is clear that he did not tell them that because in the standing, i.e. when we're waiting to get judged, because we're going to wait for about 50,000 years to get judged on the Day of Judgment. It's a long time. Alright, and the prophets are going to be there. What's going to happen is that the people they're going to say, well, we need to just get out of this, even if we're just going to hell. Let's just do something. And so someone says, well, let's ask the prophets. So then they go from each prophet, they go start from Adam, and they go, and each prophet mentions an error which they committed, and it's not really an error. We don't accept it as a sin. But they will say something, and then they will say, nafsi, nafsi, myself, myself. And the reason why they're saying this is because they obviously know that the prophet has got intercession on that day. So his intercession for humanity on that day. And so that's why they say they're not, and it's just really, they're not really, they haven't committed any sins. We don't believe that. But they keep saying it, and then eventually they go to the prophet, and the prophet says, Ana laha, so this is for me. And then I think it is described later on maybe in the text. And so basically he goes to Allah, and then he intercedes for the whole of humanity, and then it's then when the Day of Judgment starts. And Allah says to the Prophet, after the Prophet prostrates and says praises to Allah that has not been heard before, because Allah has inspired the Prophet with praise. And then Allah says to the Prophet, Irfa ra'sak Muhammad. So raise your head, Muhammad. Qul tasma', say and you're heard. Sal wa tu'ti, ask and you will be given. Washfa' tushaffa', and intercede and you'll be given intercession. So even on that day, even non-believers will benefit from the Prophet, even if they spent, even all these guys and they're doing all these bad things and horrible things to Muslims, and even they're cursing the Prophet, but they're still actually on the Day of Judgment going to be looking for him. So they can deny it as much as they can in the world, but when it comes down to it, they're going to still be, they're still going to need him. ولو أعلم كل واحد منهم بغفران خطايا لم يوجل منه في ذلك المقام وإذا استفعت بالنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وذلك المقام قال أنا لها. There's incidentally there's Sheikh Yusuf Nabhani's work on 40 hadith about intercession. It's on the internet and you can get it. It's one of the works that Allah's blessed me to work on. So there's 40 hadith about intercession. So it's a very nice piece of work. There's also Muhammad Khan's piece of work as well, on 40 hadith about intercession. So it's just 40 hadith about the intercession of the Prophet on the Day of Judgment. I don't know if you guys want that. I mean, if you can leave your emails, I can send you all the link. If you get a piece of paper and write your emails and then I'll just send you all the link. That's probably easier. And it's basically got everything. There's 40 different hadiths about, but it's very interesting just to read all that. So Sheikh Yusuf Nabhani rahimahullah has done a lot of amazing work. This is because it's denied by the Mu'tazilites as well. So the Mu'tazilites deny it. They say we don't have any intercession. As far as the Ahl Sunnah is concerned, which is the Asharis and the Maturidis, we accept that. And if they don't want intercession of the Prophet, that's fine, but I don't know about anyone else, but I need it. Right, number 5. So on page 24, number 5. So another favour is that the Prophet ﷺ is the first to intercede and the first of those whose intercession will be accepted. This indicates that he's singled out and preferred. So this is really going straight back to the other hadith we've been talking about. ومنها أنه أول الشافي وأول المشفي وهذا يدل على تخصيصه وتفضيله. ومنها إيثاره على النفس بدعوته وإذ جعل الله عز وجل كل نبي دعوته مستجابة فكل واحد منهم تعجل دعوته في الدنيا وخابتها وهو صلى الله عليه وسلم دعوته شفاعة لأمته خصيصة لم تثبت لغيره بل ثبت أن كل منهم نوادي باسمه وقال الله عز وجل يا آدم اسكن وأنت وزوجك يا عيسى ابن مريم واذكر نعمتي يا موسى إني أنا الله يا نوح احبط بالسلام يا آدم إن جعلنا خليفة يا إبراهيم قد صدقت الرؤيا يا لوط إن رسول ربك يا زكريا إنا نبشرك يا يحيى خذ الكتاب. Yeah, I think I've raised the head a bit there. There's no, it's just there's a misprint here, that's why. I'll blame the person who's printed it off. It's not me. Okay, so we're on number 6, aren't we? Yeah, so number 6 is among the favours of the Prophet that the Prophet ﷺ preferred others to himself. Alright? Since every Prophet was given a supplication which was answered, and each of the Prophets hastened his supplication in the world. Except the Prophet, he kept his supplication as intercession for his community. And if you really think about that, it's quite amazing that he actually saved, because there was a supplication that Allah was not going to refuse, and it was given to every prophet. But the prophet didn't use it straight away, so he kept it and said that he said he would keep it until the Day of Judgment as the supplication for his community. So he's actually not thinking about, if one of us had a supplication, for example, that would be answered, and we knew that it was going to be answered, we'd just say, okay, I can be in paradise with the Prophet. That's it. We'd just do it for ourselves, right? None of us would be thinking, okay, what about the rest of the Muslims, right? So, but the Prophet was not like that. He was a selfless human being, but he was thinking about others all the time. And a lot of the reason why we've got all this blessing is because it's come through the Prophet, but from Allah. And it was because he was not like myself, who would just be thinking about myself. I just want 2 mountains of gold, and that's it, and I'm done. And that would be, I'm just thinking about dunya. I'm not thinking about the afterlife anymore. Like you get those genies and they do 3 wishes. It wasn't genie, it was a jinn. Because these stories came from like 1001 Nights, and 1001 Nights were Alf Layla wa Layla, and I think it was written by Masudi. And it was just like these stories like, what was it, Aladdin and Alauddin it should be. And all these stories are stolen from the Muslims, and they call it jinn. And then you got, what's that guy? It's a Joker who played on them, wasn't it? Robin Williams, wasn't it? So you get people like that and they're doing all these crazy things. And then they don't realise it's actually from the Muslims. It's from Muslim culture that came from. Or Arabian culture, if you want to say it. So you get 3 wishes from the genie, and then what would you like? So what does the Prophet do? He saved his supplication for us, and it's think about that. It's amazing. He wasn't thinking about himself. He was thinking about other people. ومنها أن الله تعالى. Actually, I've just read the wrong section. I've just skipped to the other page. So I'll have to read that section again though, but I'm going back to we're on number 7 here, so we're on top of page 25. ومنها أن الله تعالى أقسم بحياته في قوله ليغفر لعمرك إنك لفي سكراتهم يعمهون. وأقسم الحياة المقسم بحياته تدل على شرف حياته وعزها عند المقسم بها. وإن حياته صلى الله عليه وسلم لجدرة أن يقسم بها لما كان فيها من بركات العامة وخاصة، ولم يثبت هذا لغيره. So one of them is that Allah exalted, he took oath by his life, la'amruka, which is like taking an oath. That's Salam Qasam. So he's taken an oath by the Prophet's life. And I said, by your life, they were wandering blindly in drunkenness. So the oaths made by the life of the one sworn by indicate the honour and the preciousness of his life in the sight of the one, Allah, who swears by him, and that his life, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is worthy of being an object of an oath because of the general and particular blessing it contains, and this is not necessarily about anyone besides the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Allah generally didn't take oath by other prophets. So this is also an indication that of the high rank of the Prophet as well. We're not really allowed to take oaths in general situations like say Quranic Qasmi and all these sort of things generally, unless you're in a court of Islamic law. So you're not generally, like you have these kids going Quranic Qasmi and all this lot. You shouldn't be. It's actually sinful to do that all the time. So you shouldn't be doing that. It's probably just I haven't got it here actually in the front notes, but it looks like potentially the pagan Quraysh probably. I will have to look it up for you because it's really tafsir question. Let me just have a look in this section. Let's see if I've got anything here. I've not got anything in that front notes. It would probably just, I'd imagine it's probably in the, and I shouldn't say that, but it's probably in reference to the wandering violently and drunk. It's probably in reference to pagan Quraysh probably. Okay, let's go to number 8. So number 8. Number 8. There's number 8, yeah, so number 8. منها أن الله تعالى وقره فناده بأحب أسمائه وسنى وأوصافه فقال يا أيها النبي يا أيها الرسول وهذا خسيسة لم يثبت لغيره بل ثبت أن كل منهم نوادي بإسمائه فقال الله تعالى يا آدم اسكن أنت وزوجك ويا عيسى ابن مريم اذكر نعمتي and I've read all that actually. Okay, so another favor is that Allah Exalted showed him respect when addressing him and called him by one of the most beloved of his names and the most radiant of his qualities, saying Ya Ayyuhan Nabi. So Ya Ayyuhan Nabi is the highest way you can address someone when you're speaking to them directly, right? Even if you can just hear that, it just sounds nicer, doesn't it? If you just hear that, just listening to it. So then here, what Allah's saying is it's not saying Ya Nabi, it's saying Ya Ayyuhan Nabi. Yeah, so it's addressing him with high. It's like the best way you can address someone in Arabic. And so, like we also have this frequently in the Quran when Allah is talking to the believers. He says, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu, O you who believe. I think Ibn Abbas says that you should, when you hear that, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu, or I think it's normally translated as O you who believe, to really take notice of what's being said, because it's something very important for the believers there. Yes. Yes, that's a good point, yes. So it's Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. So in reference to sending blessings to the Prophet. So in Allah, so Allah wa malaikatihi and his angels yusalluna ala nabi Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. So Allah and his angels send blessings to the Prophet. So what's Allah's blessings is mercy, and the angels, what they are doing is supplication. They're supplicating for the Prophet. So angels supplicate for the Prophet, Allah sends mercy to the Prophet, and then the supplication, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. So all you who believe, send blessings on him and worthy salutations as well. So it's a very important ayah actually. And incidentally, I do have a 40 leaf collection about salawat as well. It's been putting names. I think we have to get everyone's emails and have to send you all these links actually. That's quite nice as well. Looks like I'm just sat here promoting myself. So yeah, so the point here in this ayah and these ayahs that you've got here is that Allah is addressing the Prophet by terms. He's not using his name, and the name of the Prophet I think it's only in the Quran 4 times, but the actual terms of the Prophet is much more than his actual physical name. So someone could say, because I remember hearing this from a Orientalist who said, well, the name of the Prophet is only mentioned 4 times. Well, it's just a silly statement to make, because the actual terms of the Prophet are mentioned, a few hundred times, I'd imagine. But they're not mentioned as, so like you have Ya Ayyuhan Nabi, Ya Ayyuhar Rasul, or you have a Rasul, and you have all these ayahs who refer to the Prophet in terms of his titles, not actually his name. Because in Arabic, if you call someone by their name, it's sometimes a bit disrespectful. Alright? So if I say to, like, I have to use Hamza as another target, yes, I have to go, oi, Hamza. But if I say to Hamza, like, I don't know, have you got a favourite term that some people call me? Okay, oi gamer, right? Right, and if you like that term, for example, well, then you'll be like, oh, that's nicer than actually just calling out the name. So in Arabic, that's what it is. So that's why here we've got Ya Ayyuhan Nabi, Ya Ayyuhar Rasul. And so then he's saying, he addressed him by his most beloved names, of his names and radiant qualities. And he said, Ya Ayyuhan, like Ayyuhan Mudaththir, Ya Ayyuhan Muzammil. These are all things that we've taught, that Allah addressed in the Prophet, and addressed him in sort of respectful terms. And then he said, look, then you've got, so that's the Ya Ayyuhan Muzammil, Ya Ayyuhan Mudaththir, that's those two ones, the next one. So, or you wrapped in your clothing, or you enveloped in your cloak. And this quality is not established by, it's actually missing from this text actually. So that this quality is not established but about anyone else, but rather established that each prophet was called by his name. And then he says that we said, Adam, live you and your wife in gardens. So he's referring directly to their name. Isa, son of Maryam, so Jesus, alayhi salam, son of Mary, remember my blessings upon you. Musa, I am Allah. O Nuh, descend with peace from us. Dawood, we have sent you as a caliph in the land. Ibrahim, we have fulfilled your vision. Lut, we are messengers from your Lord. Zakaria, we give you good news. And Yahya, take the book strongly. So all these examples are saying that Allah addressed these prophets by their names. And they're actually addressing someone by title is actually stronger in the Arabic language. It's not really that, I don't think it makes a difference in English, does it? No. Unless you're like overly trying to praise someone. I think they do in Urdu though, don't they? Urdu, I think they have some terms, respectful terms in Urdu. Aren't they? I don't know, you can say like Ferrari Saab or something like this. Benz Ferrari, for example. ولا يخفى أن أحد السيد إذا دعاه أحد عباده بأفضل ما وجد فيها من أوصاف العالية وأخلاق السنية دعاه الآخرين بأسمائهم أعلام التي لا تعشر بوصف من الأوصاف ولا بخلق من أخلاق أن منازة من دعه بأفضل الأسماء وأوصاف أعز عليه وأقرب إليه مما دعه بأسمائه العالم فهذا معرفة بالعرف أن من دعاها بأفضل أوصافه وخلقه وكان ذلك مبالغة في تعظيمه واحترامه حتى قال قائلا لا تدعوني إلا بيا عبدها فإنه أحسن أسمائي. So it's obvious to everyone that when a master addresses one of his slaves by the most sublime attributes and radiant characteristics while addressing others by their proper names does not signify a quality or characteristic, the position of one addressed with the most sublime names and qualities is dearer and closer to him than the one who calls by his proper name. This is known from custom, if someone is called by using the best qualities and characteristics of all of that emphasizes his esteem and respect for him, so much so that one person said, do not call me other than or her slave, but it is the best of my names. So that's just some poetry there. Right, number 9. أن معجزة كل نبي تصميمت وأنقضت ومعجزة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بقيت وهي للأولين والآخرين وهو للأولين والآخرين وهي القرآن المبين باقيا إلى يوم القيامة يوم الدين. So another favour, this is number 9. Another favour he granted was that the miracle of every prophet ceased and came to an end in their lifetimes. So every miracle of every prophet more or less ceased in their lifetimes, while the miracle of the messenger, miracle of the master of the first and the last, i.e. the prophet, is the immense Quran, which will remain till the day of rising. So for example, there's lots of miracles of the Quran. And you get into a bit of circular reason if you go, well, the Quran is miraculous, and we say, what's miraculous about the Quran? Well, it's the Quran. So then you get into a bit of a roundabout a little bit. So, but in any case, like the Quran, what we've got is that we've got 7 modes of recitation. So the modes of recitation actually protect the Quran from being corrupted, because there's a certain way of pronouncing some certain words. So this all protects the Quran, from the actual letters from being the Quran from being changed, even if they are recited differently in the Pak world. Sorry, I had to go on there. So because of these, that's one of the proofs that the Quran is unchanged. And being unchanged is one of the special characteristics of the Quran, which isn't for any other books, because all the other books have been changed by circumstances that led to their being changed. So for example, we knew that the early scribes of the Jewish Torah, the Torah wasn't actually written down until a few thousand years after, and it was just kept on, it wasn't really kept, it was just sort of memorized, and it was lost, most of it was lost after Musa passed away, alayhi salam. Similarly the other books of the prophets, and the New Testament, most of that was lost when Jerusalem was destroyed in, I think it was 70 AD, I think. So most of it was lost, and then basically it was just some of the stuff that they've got back from some of the authors. And obviously we know that it's been changed thanks to Paul. Paul's changed as much to this. Well, they changed a lot of it, and they've added whatever they wanted. And you've got different versions of the Bible, good day, bad day Bible, whatever. And I don't know. I remember once going to a Bible shop in Bradford when they used to have some. When they had it there, it's closed down. And it basically just had a Bible for like everything. And I was like, but you just have a normal Bible, and he was like, well, just look, and it's just like a whole sort of bookcase with different titles of Bible. I was like, what is this? And then, you know, and every time you get the same, you know, the next Pope or whatever, or what is it, Canterbury, is it, what is it called? Yeah, those Archbishop guys, and they say the same thing, and they go, oh yeah, we need a new interpretation of the Bible. Oh, guys, what you're doing is just water it down until there's nothing left. It was just for comparison, actually. That was made in like 1930 something, and I bought the same. It was King James Bible, and I bought a Bible King James, which was only about 1990s, and there was differences, and that's only in the last 70 years. So the differences between all that, from one that was printed in 1929, I think, to one that was printed in, I think it was 2000 something. So there's differences then. So that's a bit scary in this time, that you should have differences in the text from the King James version as well. So the Quran's not like that. The Quran's protected. I mean, there are different translations, obviously, but that doesn't change the actual word in the text. And even if we have different groups, for example, there's lots of different groups nowadays, but we all agree in the Quran, because if you didn't, we wouldn't be Muslim. Unfortunately, some of the Shia say there's some things missing from the Quran. So, if they do say that, then that takes them actually out of the fold of Islam, doing that. Because we believe the Quran is complete and there's nothing missing from it.
Why did they say that?
Sorry?
Why did they say that?
Because they say that Ali had some scrolls.
Yeah.
But but what Ali did have was he had Quran and he had Hadith as well. So he had actually copies of these. And he also had the Quran in the order that it was revealed, which is very interesting. But we don't have these. They were actually lost they were lost. So they say, well, the scrolls of Ali had some scrolls. Well, he didn't have what they think he had, basically. Okay, so basically, I mean, the Quran is Hamza got a miracle of the Quran he can give the people. We should do, because we've been through. Hey, come on, Hamza. We went through this class. I'm not picking them in for no reason, because we did go through correct miracles in his class, in his part of his Madrasa class.
That's a good change since it came down.
No, that's what I've been talking about now, Hamza. Okay, what about the two C's?
It's like an invisible barrier in between.
Okay. What about what about the kids in the? Okay, so basically there was it talks about how the child's formed. That's one of the main miracles, how the child was formed in the belly of the mother. The water cycle.
Yeah, it's got a miracle.
Eh?
It's got a water cycle.
Yeah, Hamza. What else was there?
7 stages from light to dark.
Well done. 7 stages from light to dark, from when the night falls, and it talks about 7 stages. So 7 because it doesn't just go day and night. There's like 7 stages of light to dark. That's good. Anything else on there? That was good. You might have to go through them again though. Has anyone else got some correct miracles that you want to share with us? Anyone? I mean, it's loads of correct miracles. It's loads. We have a small book. If you want to have a look at it, we've got a small book downstairs by Haroun Yahya. It's quite good. If you want it, just let us know. It's just we've got them downstairs. It's really worth memorizing. Okay, let's go to number 10, which is, so we're on page 26. So minha. Okay, so number 10. تسليم الحجر عليه وحنين جزع إليه ولم يثبت لواحد من الأنبياء مثل ذلك خذ ما ترى وادع شيئا سمعت به. Okay, so in other words, the stones greeted him. So there is a hadith that's in the 40 hadith of miracles about Yusuf al-Bahani, which is one of our other works as well. Oh dear, sorry about this. So basically, Ali was with the Prophet, and he was with one of the Sahaba, and they were leaving one of the provinces of Medina, and basically any stone or any rock or any mountain or any tree was given salam, and they were saying, Ya Assalamu alayka ayyuha Rasul. No, Assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah. So they were all greeting him. So stones were greeting him, trees were greeting him, the mountains were greeting him. So everything was greeting him. And then and so he's saying that another stones greeted him, and the palm trunk sighed for him. So what happened to the palm trunk is the Prophet used to lean on a palm trunk in the Masjid Nabawi, and then he used to just lean on it and give the khutbah. So he used to speak in front of the people. and lean on the palm tree. You can't see it now because it's all encased. And then what happened was that the female companions wanted to. They said that they couldn't hear him, and they could build a mimbar or pulpit. So it's actually, if you know the pulpit, I don't know if you've seen a pulpit, but it's kind of just like that mostly. And then it depends actually where you've been actually in the Muslim world, because some are large and some are very small. Like the ones in Masjid al-Mayya in Damascus is massive. It's probably out of steps. It's just like this. It's like crazy, and then people down here. And the Imam, when he gives the lecture, he gives it up here. So that was just an example of the mimbar. So what the Sahabi ladies were doing, they were saying to the Prophet, can we build this for you so you can speak and deliver a lecture? So they built it for him. So it's actually female invention, and the tree would have been here somewhere, and then there was about 70 or more Sahaba in the masjid, and they heard a sobbing similar to a child, and it was very loud that they all heard it. And basically the Prophet realised it was the tree making the sound. So can you all see that? So he realised that it was a tree making the sound. So he went down and he actually hugged the tree, right, because it wouldn't calm down. And it just made a sound like a child, like you were frightening the child after it you know, he was screaming his lungs out, and then all that sort of stuff, right? And then it calmed down, and then he said that, would you like to stay here, or would you like to come with me to paradise? And the tree chose paradise. So that was one of them. I think there was about 70 Sahaba, or maybe more, with the mass transmitted miracles of the Prophet. That a tree would do that. And I also thought about this actually for quite a while, because they did say that it was about not hearing the Prophet. And what he would do, he would generally repeat the lecture just for the ladies, just for the women, the female companions. And I thought about this and thought, well, the Prophet's voice, mashallah, was a very powerful voice. I don't think they couldn't have not heard it. So I was thinking, okay, why did they make the pulpit for? It's an intriguing question, isn't it? So the Prophet had a powerful voice, he spoke. So why couldn't they hear him then, if they were complaining about hearing him? Yeah, so it was about seeing him. Yeah. Because if you go to any lectures, you don't want to just hear the person who's speaking, you want to see the person speaking, don't you? So they want to see the Prophet. That's why they built the mimbar, so they could be above the heads of all the companions and they could see him. So that's why that mimbar is there. That's what I think. I might be wrong. I might be wrong.
What are the conditions for being a Sahaba?
The conditions for being a Sahaba, or one of the companions of the Prophet, is that you met him during his lifetime, and that you believed in him and he died on faith. Awais al-Qarni is not Sahaba. No, he's not. It's incorrect opinion because he never met the Prophet in his lifetime. Yeah, it's an incorrect opinion because he has to actually meet the Prophet, which he didn't meet the Prophet in his lifetime. And then if he said, oh, well, okay, he saw the Prophet, well, that makes a lot of the Sahaba then, because a lot of people have seen the Prophet in their dreams, and we don't say they're Sahaba. So Awais al-Qarni is not Sahaba.
Met the Prophet, what does that mean in terms of definition? Does that mean that you converse with the Prophet, or just spoke with this thing?
You would have met the Prophet in his lifetime, right? While he was on the, and you would have believed in him. You would have been Muslim. So that's what qualifies him to be Sahaba. So Awais al-Qarni does have a high rank, of course he does, but he's not Sahaba. And he's one of the highest rank of the Tabi'in, the generation that immediately follows the companions. I think what was Sheikh Ramadan al-Bhuti said that the tree is teaching us a lesson. He passed away, well, he was martyred a few months ago, but he said the tree is teaching us a lesson. That if a tree can yearn for the Prophet and it's just wood, right? So what about us with flesh and blood? And such events are not established by any of the prophets. So the miracles of the Prophet continue. We also have a saying in Surah Aqidah, which is that it's not a saying actually, but it's basically what the awliya get is part of a miracle of the Prophet. So the awliya are still getting miracles, and what they get is part. The reason why they're having miracles is because of their following of the Prophet. So the proof of the wali, or the wali having miracles, is also a proof of the Prophet. Because if they weren't following the Prophet, they wouldn't be getting any miracle. And so such events are not established by any, not for any of the prophets. We don't have this information about any of the prophets. Well, then I think there's some poetry. It's not really come up as poetry there, but it's a line from Muttanabi, who was one of the famous Arab poets, who says, take what you see and give up the things that you've heard about, because you'd have got reports about miracles about the prophets and Sahaba and things like this. And there was a sort of discussion about why didn't the companions have a lot of miracles in some of the books. Well, basically they didn't have a lot of miracles because their iman was strong, one of the scholars said. I think it was Imam Ahmed. So the reason why they didn't have lots of miracles is because their iman was strong, so they didn't need miracles. But we didn't need miracles, the following community didn't need miracles because their iman wasn't as strong. But the Prophet, the Sahaba did have lots of miracles, like for example, some of these you might already know actually, but Abu Bakr left a share of inheritance for a male inheritor who had not been born yet, because his bondswoman was pregnant and gave birth to a boy after he died. After about 6 months after he died, his bondswoman gave birth to a male, and that share of inheritance that he left was for him. And we all know about the miracle of Umar when he was on the minbar and he was saying, Ya Sariya Jabal al-Jabal, O Sariya, the mountain. And Umar was in Medina giving a lecture, and Sariya, who was a Muslim leader in Iraq at the time, who was facing the pagans, heard Umar's voice without the use of mobile phones, and turned round and saw that the Persian forces were trying to attack them from one side. So Umar had seen this happening while he was delivering a lecture, then spoke about it, and then they'd heard it in Iraq, and then he turned around and then he got a section of the army and defended that place, and then they actually won the battle. So that's the miracle of Umar. Uthman's miracle is one of the young Sahaba saw a woman and he quite liked her, and he was like, she's nice and shit. And then he came towards Uthman, and Uthman said, what's wrong with people who fill their eyes with zina? And then they said, is this a revelation after the Prophet? He says, no, but this is an insight. Ali's miracle, this is all in Yusuf Mahani's work about the proof of Allah for the universe, and he solves some miracles and things. And then he talks about Ali's miracle. One of Ali's miracles was that he was in the graveyard Jannat al-Baqiyah, which is in Medina, and he talked to the people who had passed away, had a conversation with them, and talked about the things that happened after they had passed away. So Ali was talking to the companions, about what had happened to them, and they were in the graves. They were people of the graves. They were in the graves, and he was talking to them and conversing to them and told them what was happening and everything. So that's the miracles of Sahaba. I like to memorize this stuff. And the miracles of the Prophet, it's just so many. It's just, can't count them, to be honest. Can't count them. Like one of the miracles is that he said that the Khulafa will be 30 years after me, and then it will become Baraka and Jababara, an aggressive kingdom, like kingship. So after the Prophet ﷺ passed away, so he said 30 years. So then we had, firstly there was Abu Bakr whose reign lasted for about 2.5 years. Then we had Umar, his reign lasted for about 10 years. With Uthman, his reign lasted for about 10 years. We had Ali, whose reign lasted about 6 years. I think it was about 6 years. And then the remaining time was Imam Hassan's, which was about 6 months. So that covers 30 years. And he said after that it's going to be a kingship. And then after, because what happened was Imam Hassan, the grandson of the Prophet, saw that the Muslim Ummah was about to, there was people who were causing some friction in between the Muslim Ummah. And Hassan did some, the amazing thing is that he didn't actually say, right, okay, because he could have just said, right, okay, I'm the leader, you guys follow me, I'm the grandson of the Prophet, I can force you all guys to accept my authority. He didn't say that, right? He said, look, I don't want people to have bloodshed, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass the leadership on to Muawiyah, and then we're going, it's going to calm everything down. And I'm going to calm the people on my side. So that's what happened. So what he did, I mean, it's amazing really just to give up this, what he did. And so then he made Muawiyah leader, and then what Muawiyah did was really negotiate with a lot of people. So he basically calmed down the Muslim Ummah at that stage. So Muawiyah was really just like using diplomacy, calm down certain situations. And so then after him is when we get his sons, Muawiyah's sons. Then we get the Umayyad dynasty, and we get Abbasid dynasty, and then we get the Ottoman dynasties, and then we get basically it's father, son, or family. And so basically that's how all the Muslim Ummah has continued. It's always been father, son, or someone in the family, or uncles, son or uncles. So it's just basically been a dynastic rule, right? And so even the Ottoman Empire, that was all a dynastic rule. And every Muslim sort of ruling thing has always been father, son, father, son, father, son. So even now, like in Jordan, his father, King Hussein, wasn't it? And then he's passed it on to his son, which is King Abdullah, and then like that. So it's continued. Like even now, it's still, you know, even though some of them are puppet rulers, they're still, it's gone from father, son, father, son, father, son. So that's the part. So the Prophet predicted all this in a couple of lines. The hadith, he predicted all this. That's how the Muslim rule would continue. So that's a miracle in itself, that he basically predicted the entire way that Muslims were going to rule themselves using dynastic rule. And the Prophet did actually predict what Imam Hussein did. He said that one of my grandsons will bring together two parties, two warring parties. You probably read about in the you can see if you look at Imam Hussein's Hassan's biography, it's in there. So that's another miracle as well. But the miracles of the Prophet just go on and on and on and on and on and on. They keep continuing, which is something that none of the other prophets have. So none of the other prophets, they have miracles that continue. I think there was a Jesus statue, wasn't there, that had been hit by lightning, wasn't there? And then they fabricate things like, the roof's leaking, and it's leaking on a picture, a statue of Mary, and it's just because some priest has been putting holes in the roof, and so he's put it in the right place this time. So it looks like the statue of Mary's crying or something. But the miracle of the Prophet is something that you need to remember. He hasn't got any excuse because he's been through 2 books actually. He's been through 2 books of miracles, that's why I'm picking on him.
Whilst the Prophet was teaching, he saw a battle going on somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
He was telling people about
Very good, very good. So he saw the Battle of Mu'tah. The Prophet was in Medina, he saw the Battle of Mu'tah being taking place. And then, what else did he see, Hamza? Some people getting...
only the guy that was crying while he died. Someone was crying and he was telling us the information to people who he was teaching.
Right, did you all hear that? Yeah? You all heard that? So basically Hamza was saying that so the Battle of Mu'tah, the Prophet saw it taking place. He was in Medina, and the Battle of Mu'tah, I think it's in Jordan, I think. It's quite far away. And he described the events of the battle, which was when the 3 leaders that he put in place all died. And then the Prophet said that the sword of Allah has picked up the banner, and that was Khalid ibn Walid radiyallahu anhu. That's a miracle. We've been through 10, we've got to number 11.